Okay. I'd like to call the Bruce County Housing Corporation meeting to order and ask anybody to declare pecuniary interest. And again, welcome to those visiting us live streaming this morning. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes for October the 18th. I need a mover and seconder for those minutes. Mike, David, were there any errors, omissions, or discussions from those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Information items.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, we do have before you our third quarter arrears report for the Housing Corporation. And unfortunately, we have had an increase in the number of tenants that are owing in arrears. What I did wanted to highlight and explain for you is that we have about 100 of those tenants that owe $100 or less. And so with the 3 evacuations that occurred this year, staff's attention was in other places. And so what I hope to see happen towards the end of the year as they're moving back to stability is that there will be cleanup of those tenants in particular that owe just less than $100. And it is a trend that we'll just need to continue to watch over time in terms of collections and see if there's anything else that's impacting that. One other piece of the puzzle is that with tenants that are on Ontario Disability Support Payment, the way that that program works is that they issue payments at the end of the month. So it appears that tenants that are on ODSP are chronically behind in their payments, and that comes through in our reports as well. And recently we've had discussions with ODSP to see if we can pilot a new leaner process in terms of that, because as you are aware, a high percentage of our tenants are on ODSP as well too. So a couple items that we're looking at there, and I can answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Robert?
When a tenant is behind in payments like that, are they, is there like interest penalties and are they fined and so forth? Is that very costly to those people, or are we quite lenient on that?
We're quite generous in the approach under the social housing. So where tenants have arrears, they can pay as little as 10% of their current rent back. So for example, if their rent is $200, they're paying $20 a month towards their arrears. Where that becomes difficult is that when we have tenants who have very large amounts of arrears, it takes years and years for them to pay those arrears back. As long as they're still in good standing though, we don't write off the debt, and so we just continue to have them work overtime to pay it back. But the tenant coordinators do work with tenants to come up with a payment that they feel is sustainable. And of course, if they're able to manage more than 10%, that is preferred, because then we do get it cleaned up sooner.
Milt?
Yeah, Christine, you were talking about ODSP and how you were going to approach that. Just explain that to me again
So Ontario Works recipients and ODSP recipients receive their financial benefits at the end of the month. And under the Ontario Disability Program, when they do direct pays with landlords, they insist on it happening at the same time as their benefit, so they do not advance that payment for their rent. And so what happens is that then it's viewed as though the tenant has arrears. In many cases, our tenant coordinators have worked with those ODSP tenants and arranged a payment plan where the tenant themselves gets enough money in the bank that they've paid ahead, and so it doesn't, the perception isn't that they're in arrears. However, we're hoping that we could perhaps come up with a solution that's actually at a system level, so that the requirement isn't on the individual, but we manage that through the system.
So their payment, though, they get full payment and then they reimburse you? Is that?
So in some cases, the pay direct, it's actually ODSP that's sending us the money,
Okay.
not the tenant. The tenants that receive it themselves, they've set themselves up for success, that they're receiving their money at the end of the month, which is going towards next month's rent.
Okay.
But the tenants that have been set up for pay direct, ODSP has insisted on paying when that month comes due. So it's at the end of the month. So we're hoping that we could find a systematic fix for that. Mm-hmm. But we'll have to have discussions with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Act on recommendations. Milt, seconded by David. Are there any further discussions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Next meeting, December 6th. Motion to adjourn. Robert and Michael. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you.